Jai.
Vrindaya Tulsi Devaya Priyaya Kesavasya Vishnu Bhakti Pranadevi Satyavachai Namo Namo Tulsi Devaya Priyaya Kesavasya Vishnu Bhakti Pranadevi Satyavachai Namo Namo Vrindaya Tulsi Devaya Priyaya Kesavasya Vishnu Bhakti Pranadevi Satyavachai Namo Namo
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivara Dhare Gopi Janavalabha Girivara Dhare Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Madhava Gopi Jana Vallabha Kirivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Kirivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajikacharya Sata Shishimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Seko Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopgopana Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Yamunamai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaura Premananda, Hari Hari Bolo, all glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru Angaranga and His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're in the 10th canto on chapter 72 in text 4. Tvat Paduke Aviratam Pari Ye Charanti Jayanti Abhadra Nashane Shuchayo Grinanti Vidanti Te Kamala Nabha Bhavapavargam Ashasate Yadi Ta Ashisha Isha Nanye Twadpaduke Aviratam Pariye Charanti Jayantya Bhadra Nashane Shuchayo Grinanti Vidanti Te Kamalana Bhava Pavargam Ashasate Yadita Ashisha Isha Nanye Twadpaduke Aviratam Pariye Charanti Jayantya Bhadra Nashane Suchayo Grinanti Vidanti Te Kamalana Bhava Pavargam Ashasate Yadita Aishisha Isha Nanye Twadpaduke Aviratam Pariye Charanti Jayantya Bhadra Nashane Suchayo Grinanti Vidanti Te Kamalana Bhava Pavargam Ashasate Yadita Ashisha Isha Nanye Devotees. Shashate Yadiyata Ashisha Isha Nanye Twadpaduke Aviratam Pariye Charanti Jayam Yabashane Suchayo Nante Vidanti Te Kamalana Bhava Pavargam Shashate Yadita Ashisha Isha Nanye. Anybody else? Okay. Twad, your. Paduke, slippers. Aviratam, constantly. Pari, fully. Ye, who. Charanti, serve. Jayanti, meditate upon. Abhadra, of inauspicious things. Nashane, which cause the destruction. Shuchayaha, purified. It split the words on the screen. Krinanti, and describe in their words. Vidanti, obtained. Te, Kamala, like a lotus. Nabha, O you whose navel. Bhava, of material life. Apavargam, the cessation. Hasha sate, harbor desires. Yadi, if. Te, they. Ashisha, attain the desired objects. Isha, O Lord. Na, not. Anye, other persons. So, translation. Purified persons who constantly serve, meditate upon and glorify your shoes, which destroy everything inauspicious, are sure to obtain freedom from material existence. O lotus-naveled one, even if they desire something in this world, they obtain it, whereas others, those who do not take shelter of you, are never satisfied, O Lord. So we can repeat. Purified persons who constantly serve, meditate upon, and glorify your shoes, which destroy everything inauspicious, are sure to obtain freedom from material existence. O lotus-naveled one, even if they desire something in this world, they obtain it, whereas others, those who do not take shelter of you, are never satisfied, O Lord. So purport by the servants of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada writes in this connection that liberated Krishna-conscious persons do not even desire to become freed from this material existence or to enjoy material opulences. Their desires are fulfilled by Krishna-conscious activities. As far as we, King Yudhisthira, are concerned, we are fully surrendered unto your lotus feet, and by your grace, we are so fortunate to see you personally. Therefore, naturally, we have no desire for material opulences. The verdict of the Vedic wisdom is that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I want to establish this fact, and I also want to show the world the difference between accepting you as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and accepting you as an ordinary, powerful, historical person. I wish to show the world that one can attain the highest perfection of life simply by taking shelter at your lotus feet, exactly as one can satisfy the branches, twigs, leaves, and flowers of an entire tree simply by watering the root. Thus, if one takes to Krishna consciousness, his life becomes fulfilled both materially and spiritually. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur similarly explains King Yudhisthira's statement. We feel no great urgency to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice, nor do we have any personal interest, since we are already seeing your lotus feet, and by your boundless mercy have been taken into your personal association. But in this world, there are some whose hearts are contaminated and who thus think you are not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but an ordinary man. Or else they find fault with you and even criticize you. This is an arrow piercing our hearts. Therefore, to extract this arrow from our heart, we must call to this place on the pretext of the Rajasuya, Brahma, Rudra, and other wise brahmacharyas and demigods who reside in each of the 14 planets, or planetary systems. When such an exalted congregation has assembled, it will be incumbent upon them to first arrange for the Agra Puja, or the first worship for the most worthy person present. And when they are directly shown that you, Lord Krishna, are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the arrow piercing our heart will be removed. So, Omikyana Timiranda Shagananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was really struck, and we'll go through the commentaries of the Acharyas, but there's a couple of things that I wanted to go through before we go there that will kind of touch on some of the things that I want to share later. But one of the things that stuck out to me about this verse is that it was so very similar to a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, and also kind of thinking about this constant service is what's really going to give us the ability to obtain Krishna. You know, in order to have that relationship, it really does require constant service in mind, body, and words. And so I looked at 10 in the Bhagavad Gita, and it's Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Pratipurvakam Dadami Buddhiyogatam Yenamam Upayantite. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. And then Prabhupada shares, and he very specifically shares what Buddhi Yoga is. In this verse, the word Buddhi Yogam is very significant. We may remember that in the second chapter, the Lord, instructing Arjuna, said that he had spoken to him of many things, and that he would instruct him in the way of the Buddhi Yoga. Now Buddhi Yoga is explained. Buddhi Yoga itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence, and yoga means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and takes fully to Krishna consciousness in devotional service, his action is called Buddhi Yoga. In other words, Buddhi Yoga is the process by which one gets out of the material entanglement of this material world. The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. Please do not know this. People do not, sorry, my eyes are a little bit off. Please do not know this. People do not know this. Therefore, the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. So to me, this is unpacking the practice of Krishna consciousness and all those things that are needed to practice it, and then what we'll gain by that, and how we do all of that by taking all of our actions and doing those in Krishna consciousness, but doing them in the association of the devotees and doing them under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master are important, Prabhupada shares. One should know that the goal is Krishna, and when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. When a person knows the goal of life, but is addicted to the fruit of activities, he is acting in karma yoga. When he knows that the goal is Krishna, but he takes pleasure in mental speculation to understand Krishna, he is acting in jnana yoga. And when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely, in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is acting in bhakti yoga or buddhi yoga, which is the complete yoga. The complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life. A person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization, but still, if he is not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instructions so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification is that the person always engage himself in Krishna consciousness, and with love and devotion render all kinds of services. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love. If a devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain him. And as I was reading that and going through that, I felt really encouraged, and, obviously certain things stood out to me, especially, thinking about my own devotional life. and trying to become Krishna conscious, and yet still being attached, to so many different things, and then thinking, oh wow, does that mean I'm performing karma yoga? And that's really all I'm getting out of it. But then, I think, to be encouraged, the real answer is no, because at least I am trying to engage everything that I have in Krishna's service, in my mind, body, words, and soul. And that, at least if I get up and I try every single day and all the time to remember Krishna and to try to do it with love, not just to remember to do it out of, oh, well, this is what I'm supposed to do and this is what I've got to do in order to get back home, back to Godhead, so I don't have to suffer, better to try to remember, to try to do all those things with love, because that's ultimately what Krishna wants. He doesn't want, our mental speculation or our mental abilities, to be a pundit, and just be knowledgeable in all sorts of words and all parts of the scripture, and those certainly are good. I think of Hridayananda Das Goswami, who can really bring down, the definition of everything that he's given, to this fine point of knowing every single word, and I have always thought that would be amazing to be able to know about all the different words in Sanskrit and then tie them back into Krishna, like to have that level of intelligence. And so it's okay to have those things and use them in Krishna's gift, but then speaking for myself, I'm not that, even close to that level of intelligence. But if I try to give myself in love, that's ultimately what Krishna's looking for, is that whatever gifts you have, be it a high level of intelligence or not, a high skill set of anything or not, is that he wants us to give with our hearts, because that's what he's really interested in. He's not, interested so much in all the other things and, perfection of things and all the details. He really wants us to engage with love and render all kinds of service. And then that way, we'll be free, and what it talks about too in this translation is, that it'll destroy all the inauspicious things, give us auspiciousness, and be able to attain the freedom from material existence. Just the simple act of performing devotional service with your heart as to the best of your ability each day, trying to do it day after day, you'll gain Krishna. And then you'll be free of all the shackles. A lot of times I think, at least from my own personal experiences, we think that we can do it all by ourselves. And two things come to mind is, I think we're trained up for that, of, being trained up how to be successful in the material world, and how to have a high-end job and perform so that you can get a high-end salary and a high-end living situation and all these high-end material things. And so we're kind of trained up for that. And so to get out of that mentality and refocus, to think that it's, to understand that it's not about that and think about that it's at love can be a little bit challenging, because at least speaking for myself, I worked in the business world probably, 44 odd years. And, so it's ingrained in me in a lot of ways, to kind of apply everything from that perspective. And it's, Prabhupada talked about it, is that I remember one example he talked about, if somebody's taught themselves piano, to really untrain them and retrain them in the proper way to play the piano, can be really difficult, if not impossible. Impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary, so not maybe completely impossible, but it takes a lot to untrain the training. And we've had millions of lifetime of training in this material world. It also reminds me of, I had a graphic experience, I'm sure I've shared it before, but it was so intense for me. I was in a situation where a friend of mine had severe schizophrenia, and he was really, really struggling, and so many people tried to help him, and he took things really seriously or, out of context, obviously, because, he had different voices that were speaking to him and, ended up jumping off the Brooklyn Bridge and actually ended up living. But I remember being in my room and sleeping in the middle of the night and thinking, I need to go save him. I've got to go save him. I've got to do something. And, immediately there was just this dark heaviness that immobilized me. I wasn't able to move my body or anything. And then I was thinking, wow, in retrospect, I could understand that whatever karma he had to deal with and the weight of all the different things that he had to do and work through and looking at it now, is that I can't do anything about the material world. I can't do anything about Maya and that weight. It was way beyond my capability. And so I had to leave it up, to circumstance. And now I could see that I, had to leave it up to Krishna. But I also understood from that, having my Krishna consciousness and reflecting back, is that, that's not something that I have the ability to do. And my point is linking this back to, but Krishna does. And that's where, this destroying of everything inauspicious and obtaining the freedom from the weight of material existence comes from attaching ourselves to Krishna and simply doing everything with love. It's not that complicated. And a lot of times I think, going back to my example, is I think we overcomplicate things because of our training in the material world, especially maybe mentally or emotionally or however we, go through that, when it really is just about making, cutting out all the mental noise, all the, worldly noise, and just kind of sitting back down and listening. And then figuring out how you can tie your heart to Krishna in what you do, in any activity that you have. And so, that was loud. So then, I was thinking about, too, what's exemplified in the purport that Prabhupada was sharing is this quote of what it looks like to have this relationship with Krishna, and how it sets the example of our activities in Krishna consciousness. It gives reference to historical references in the philosophy and the fact that it's scientific and that it actually works if you apply it. And then, I'm sure we've all had those personal experiences, but what he says is, I want to establish this fact. And I also want to show the world the difference between accepting you as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and accepting you as some ordinary, powerful, historical person. I wish to show the world that one can obtain the highest perfection of life simply by taking shelter at your lotus feet. Simply. Exactly as one can satisfy the branches, twigs, leaves, flowers, and the entire tree simply by watering the root. Thus, if one takes to Krishna consciousness, his life becomes fulfilled both materially and spiritually. So everything's done by attaching ourselves to Krishna in this act. And so, he wants to, he's in, a lot of pain, and they are in a lot of pain because people are criticizing Krishna, but he wants to. And I was thinking how, we have, that's showing how much love somebody has, because you don't want them to be criticized, right? You don't want, because it hurts. When you love somebody, it really hurts. And so I was thinking, to love Krishna that much, that we're willing to do whatever it takes in the face of whatever society thinks of us, to be Krishna conscious and to share Krishna consciousness, right? And so if we go through Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, which I'll go ahead and read. I think I've got enough time, a little bit more time. And then we'll make some other references too that are brought up. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur shares, we who, by your unlimited mercy of your direct association, see your lotus feet, have no need for performing the Rajasuya sacrifice. However, the evil-hearted persons present do not recognize you. as the Supreme Lord and think of you as an ordinary human being. Even they find fault with you and criticize your behavior. This is an arrow in our hearts. Therefore, on the pretext of the sacrifice, calling Brahma, Shiva, and others who know everything, the brahmacharis and devatas, calling all those in the 14 worlds who will establish who is to be worshipped first, as is necessary in any assembly, and thus showing who is the Supreme Lord, the arrow of our hearts will be destroyed. That is my desire. He expresses this in the 3 verses. Dividing Pari and Charanati, the poetic license, those who serve your lotus feet, which destroy all inauspicious elements, up to ignorance, the root, attain freedom from bondage and those who meditate upon you. So again, this watering of the tree and getting to the root, like to satisfy everything, to, not have to worry about anything, go to the root. And the root and the cause of all causes is Krishna. And those who meditate on you, being worshipers full of desires, if desiring material objects, enjoy these but not others. This means that your worshipers include even those who with material desires, and they desire such things, but your devotees never desire material results. Na anye. What to speak of us, who have no material desires, having taken shelter of your feet and directly seen you. And then Jiva Goswami shares, persons who constantly serve your shoes obtain liberation. What to speak of those who serve your lotus feet directly? What to speak of those who without effort meditate on them and without effort glorify them? They glorify your shoes as the objects of devotion, for they destroy all inauspiciousness at once. They become free of all inauspicious obstacles to bhakti, internally and externally. So that's a significant point. This attachment to Krishna will destroy all these inauspicious obstacles to bhakti, both internally and externally. If these people do not fully engage in bhakti, they still obtain all material and non-material enjoyment and destruction of samsara. The Lord himself says this, and it is not available to others. And he gives a verse. If somehow or other my devotees desire svarga, liberation, or residence in my abode, he easily achieves such benedictions. It is also said, svarga pargavagoy gayoy pumsam rasayam bhuvi sampadam sarvasham api siddhinam mulam ta charana chanam. Devotional service to his lotus feet is the root cause of all perfections a person can find in heaven, in liberation, and in the subterranean regions on earth. The reason is given. You have a lotus navel as Garbhadakshaya. You are the shelter of all the worlds just by your expansion. You are the controller of all beings, Isha. Or joining the last statement with aviratam, the meaning is they enjoy blessings constantly. And then finally, Sanatana Goswami shares, persons who constantly serve your shoes obtain liberation, what to speak of those who serve your lotus feet directly. Kunti states that the feet give the mercy to the earth. O holder of the club, when you go, this land marked with the special signs of your feet will not glow as it does now. Though one generally thinks of the Lord's feet without shoes, the statement is made considering offering royal items to the Lord, or it is stated out of great humility, or he accepts when some devotees insist on offering them, or since the shoes exist among the Lord's wardrobe they constantly serve, meditate on, and glorify those shoes. This is the tendency of devotees when they develop rasa, or pious persons situated here and there in order to make their bodies, minds, and words successful. So again, this is the tendency. It's showing what this attachment brings. Or they constantly bear grananti about the shoes, hear about the shoes, which destroy unlimited. So even hearing about the shoes, even hearing or talking about all this destroys it. And it destroys unlimited suffering to the root at that times. By doing one of these actions, all three are accomplished. Those who have pure hearts by performing pure actions will do this, suchaya. It accomplishes all dharmas. Of those who purify the world or who shine like fire, attain cessation of material life. Among serving, meditating, and glorifying, glorifying is the easiest. But any of them gives effects. In the lists, glorifying requires less effort than meditating with pranayams. The person's destruction of samsara, or liberation in the form of Vaikuntha, or the person's attained destruction of. Having a lotus navel indicates that the Lord is supreme, giving rise to the lotus which produces Brahma, and that he contains all the worlds. Serving the shoes of the Lord is the cause of attaining cessation of material life, or Kamala Nabha, means that his navel is shaped like a lotus, thus he is most beautiful Supreme Lord. If these persons desire anything, they attain it. However, they do not desire anything, since they have bhakti ras. If for some reason, at some time, they are to desire, they would attain those desires. O Lord, all those desired attainments are dependent on you, and they understand that. Or, without serving you, even kings have no power to attain these items, or they attain liberation, bhavapargam, pavargam. If they desire something for assisting their service to you, they attain it. Or if others, devoid of service, desire items, they do not attain them by yoga and sacrifices. So it's a lot. There's a lot to go. And it reminded me that all purposes are served by a well, and can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Veda can be served to one who knows the purpose that's behind them, which is obviously Krishna. And so in going through this, there's a lot there, but in tying it back in and thinking about, at least for me especially, everything that's going on in the world these days, pretty much everywhere you turn, it feels like there's just so much chaos, so much pain and suffering, magnified, ad infinitum. And, what do we do? And the answer is that we really go back, and I'm sure this is in the purport that Prabhupada shared in that verse, which is 246. The best purpose of the Vedic culture is served, however, by chanting the holy name of the Lord. So to know that the whole purpose and the whole reason why we're doing, and the cause of all causes, and everything that we're doing is going to this one central point of Krishna, and that everything is connected to all of that by Krishna, seeing everything through his eyes, and serving him in any and every way we can, starting with this point of being attached to him through the holy name. And it was one of those experiences that I had when I got first and then second initiation, being, given the Harinam initiation, but then second initiation was, it literally felt like the umbilical cord was reattached, and that, that there's, our purpose in life is reattached to Krishna through this process of chanting this, Hare Krishna mantra. And by devotional service and taking initiation, which is really, in essence, vowing to make that endeavor to love Krishna and to perform service in love, and that's, really the essence of everything that we get to, and coming to and seeing, Yudhisthira and the Pandavas and their example, and it's getting ready to get really interesting because, as they're going to be doing, the Agra Puja, which is the first worship, who's going to be of Krishna, somebody's going to get really upset, and he's going to be throwing peacock feathers, thinking that he's counting all the peacock feathers for all his offenses until he gets to that 100th one and realizes he doesn't have a feather because he's working against Krishna. And so our job is to work with Krishna against our material desires, and to perform devotional service with love. So all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the Association of the Devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Radha Kulakananda Ki Jai. Yay, thank you.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Enam Kanvandam Maravindanalayataksam Bharavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Nandar Bhagom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Angani Yasa Sakalem Priya Priti Manti Lasyan Dipan Dikayanti Jiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. 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 Govindam Adipurusham
Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan. Shri Govinda Gopinatha Madana Mohan. Gopinatha Madana Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Halindi Jamuna Jaya Jaya Mavan Jamuna Rishigata Vamsi Bhata Dvadasakana Yada Vamsi Bhata Jasavalila Koilo Srinandananda Srinanda Jasoda Jaya Jaya Gopagan Soda Jaya Shri Damari Jaya Jaya Denuvatsagan Jaya Vrishabhanu Jaya Kirti Dasundari Jaya Purnamasi Jaya Varnagari Jaya Jaya Gopishwara Vrindavanamad Jaya Jaya Krishna Saka Bhatu Dvijarat Jaya Ramagata Jaya